In the vast, shadowy underbelly of the Orion sprawl, where neon lights flickered like dying stars, and the air hummed with the low growl of interstellar traders haggling over forbidden wares, Alex Thorne found himself wandering deeper than he ever intended. He was just a simple Earth-born mechanic, 32 years old with calloused hands from fixing hyperdrives on cargo haulers. But tonight, curiosity had pulled him into this black market nebula. The sprawl was a floating bazaar orbiting a rogue planet, a haven for smugglers, refugees, and those peddling the galaxy's oddities. Alex had come for cheap parts, maybe a salvaged plasma coil or two, but the allure of the exotic pet stalls had drawn him in like a moth to a fusion flame. "Smart pets, my friend, intelligent companions from the outer rims," barked a sleazy vendor with tentacles writhing from his hood. His stall was crammed with cages glowing under holographic ads, promising loyalty, tricks, and minimal upkeep. Alex paused, his blue eyes scanning the displays. Life back on his cramped apartment ship felt lonely these days. Ever since his last gig hauling freight across the Milky Way, he'd been craving something more than the silence of space. A pet sounded harmless, a way to fill the void without the complications of human connections. His gaze landed on a small, unassuming crate labeled Discount Smart Pet, Adaptive Learner. Inside, curled up in a ball of shimmering fabric, was what looked like a sleek fox-like creature with pale fur that shifted colors under the lights. It had delicate, pointed ears that twitched slightly, and its eyes, closed in slumber, hinted at an intelligence beyond the ordinary. The price was a steal, barely a fraction of the others. "What's the catch?" Alex asked, leaning in. The vendor chuckled, a wet, gurgling sound. "No catch, human. Just a prototype from Zerathia Labs. Escaped a shipment, needs a home. Smart as a whip, learns your language in days. Feed it synth protein, and it'll be your best pal." Alex hesitated, but the creature stirred, letting out a soft, almost melodic whimper that tugged at something deep inside him. He imagined coming home to it after a long shift, teaching it tricks, maybe even confiding in it during those endless nights staring at the stars. "Sold," he said, handing over his credits. The vendor grinned, sealing the deal with a biometric scan, and Alex lugged the crate back to his ship, the Stardust Runner, docked at the edge of the sprawl. Back in the dim confines of his living quarters, Alex set the crate down gently on the metal floor. The ship was a modest vessel, cluttered with tools, half-eaten ration packs, and holographic star charts flickering on the walls. He popped the latch, expecting the creature to scamper out curiously. Instead, it uncurled slowly, revealing not fur, but a cascade of silky white hair that framed a face far too humanoid for comfort. "Wait, what?" Alex blinked, his heart skipping a beat. The pet stood up on two legs, stretching with a grace that screamed sentience. She, for it was clearly a she, wore a tattered, form-fitting garment that hugged her curvaceous figure, the fabric shimmering like liquid silver, accentuating her pale, flawless skin that glowed faintly under the cabin lights. Her ears were indeed pointed, like those of ancient earth elves from old myths, small and delicately curved, adding an ethereal charm to her appearance. She looked up at him with wide, luminous violet eyes, tilting her head in confusion. "You bought me." Her voice was soft, melodic, with a faint accent that rolled like distant thunder. Alex stumbled back, nearly tripping over a toolbox. "What the hell? You're not a pet. You're a person." She blinked, her long lashes casting shadows on her cheeks. "In your terms, perhaps, but on the market I was labeled as such to escape. I am Elara from the fallen courts of Zerathia. Hunters from the rival empire of Xandor pursue me. They seek to claim my lineage for their twisted alliances." She glanced around the ship, her posture wary yet poised, like a queen in exile. The way her outfit clung to her, elegant yet revealing just enough to hint at the mysteries beneath, made Alex's cheeks flush. This wasn't what he signed up for. Panic surged through him. "Escape? Hunters? Lady, I'm just a mechanic. I thought you were some kind of smart animal." He ran a hand through his messy brown hair, pacing the small room. But as she stepped closer, her scent, a mix of star jasmine and ozone, wafted over him, calming his nerves against his will. She was beautiful in an otherworldly way, her body lithe and inviting, curves that spoke of both fragility and strength. Yet there was vulnerability in her eyes, a plea that stirred his protective instincts. "Please," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "If you return me, they'll find me. I chose this disguise to blend among the traded beasts. But you seem kind. Humans are legends in our tales, fierce warriors with hearts of fire, capable of turning the tides of fate." Alex swallowed hard, his mind racing. Legends, him? He was no hero, just a guy scraping by in the cosmos. But looking at her, standing there in his ship, a spark ignited. Maybe this was his chance to be more. "All right, Elara, stay hidden for now, we'll figure this out." As she nodded gratefully, a small smile playing on her lips, Alex felt the weight of the universe shift. Little did he know, this smart pet would unravel his world, weaving him into a tapestry of danger, desire, and destiny. The next few days blurred into a whirlwind of secrecy and adaptation. Alex smuggled Elara deeper into the ship's hidden compartments during docking checks, teaching her the basics of human life while she shared glimpses of her Zerathian heritage. Zerathia was a realm of crystal spires and bioluminescent forests, where beings like her harnessed psychic energies to commune with the stars. But war had shattered it, forcing her into exile. She adapted quickly, her intelligence astonishing, learning Earth's languages, customs, and even how to operate his tools with an elegance that made him feel clumsy. One evening, as the ship hummed through hyperspace toward a neutral colony, Alex caught her practicing in the mirror, mimicking human gestures. Her white hair cascaded like a waterfall, and her pointed ears twitched with concentration. "How do I look?" she asked, turning to him with a playful spin. Her outfit, now mended with scraps from his wardrobe, hugged her form in ways that made his pulse quicken, high-necked yet sheer in places, revealing the gentle swell of her hips and the graceful arch of her back. "You look human enough," he lied, his voice rough. Truth was, she looked mesmerizing, a blend of alien allure and earthly beauty that stirred something primal in him. He cleared his throat. "But those ears, maybe we can cover them with a headband." She laughed, a sound like tinkling chimes. "Your kind finds them strange. In Zerathia, they are a mark of nobility." She stepped closer, her fingers brushing his arm, sending a jolt through him. There was an electricity in her touch, a subtle psychic hum that made his skin tingle. "Tell me more about humans, Alex. Your stories say you conquer worlds with ingenuity and passion." He sat on the edge of his bunk, gesturing for her to join him. As she did, their knees touched and he felt the warmth of her body. "We're not all conquerors, most of us just survive. But yeah, we've got heart. We fight for what matters." He shared tales of Earth's history, explorers braving unknown seas, rebels toppling empires, watching her eyes widen with fascination. In return, she described Zerathian rituals, dances under twin moons that bonded souls eternally. As nights passed, their conversations deepened. Elara's presence filled the ship with life. She cooked exotic meals from replicated ingredients, infusing them with Zerathian spices that tasted like forbidden dreams. But danger loomed. Scans from passing vessels hinted at pursuers closing in. One night, as alarms blared, a proximity alert, Alex rushed to the cockpit, Elara trailing behind. "Zendorian scouts," she gasped, peering at the screens. "They've tracked my energy signature." Alex's hands flew over the controls, evading with maneuvers honed from years of outrunning pirates. "Hold on." The ship twisted through asteroid fields, lasers grazing the hull. In the chaos, Elara placed her hand on his, channeling a burst of psychic energy that boosted the engines. Together they escaped, hearts pounding. Back in safety, she collapsed against him, her body soft and trembling. "You saved us," she murmured, her violet eyes locking onto his. The air thickened with unspoken tension, her scent enveloping him. Alex felt a pull, a magnetic force drawing him closer. Gently, he brushed a strand of hair from her face, his thumb lingering on her cheek. "We're in this together now." Her lips parted, and for a moment the galaxy faded. But just as he leaned in, a holographic comm buzzed, a message from an old contact offering sanctuary on a hidden moon. The interruption snapped them back, but the spark remained, simmering like a star about to ignite. Life aboard the Stardust Runner evolved into a delicate dance of survival and budding affection. Elara's disguise held during brief stops at outposts, where Alex passed her off as a holographic assistant. But in private, barriers crumbled. She taught him Zerathian meditation, their minds brushing in psychic links that revealed hidden desires. He showed her human music, slow dancing in the cargo bay to ancient earth ballads, her body pressing against his with a warmth that blurred lines. One afternoon, while repairing a faulty panel, Alex glanced over to see Elara lounging in a chair, her legs draped elegantly, the fabric of her attire riding up just enough to reveal the smooth expanse of her thigh. She caught his stare, a mischievous glint in her eyes. "Do humans always look at their companions this way?" He chuckled, wiping grease from his hands. "Only when they're as captivating as you." The words slipped out, laced with honesty. She rose, sauntering closer, her hips swaying with an innate sensuality. In Zerathia, such looks lead to bonds unbreakable. Her fingers traced his collarbone, igniting fire in his veins. The tension built like a storm. That evening, over a shared meal, their conversation turned intimate. "Tell me, Alex, what do humans seek in love?" she asked, her voice husky. "Connection," he replied, his gaze intense. "Trust, passion." As she leaned in, their lips met in a tentative kiss, soft at first, then deepening with urgency. Her taste was exotic, like nectar from forbidden fruits, and her body molded to his, curves yielding yet demanding. They pulled back, breathless, the promise of more hanging in the air. But shadows crept in. Whispers from informants spoke of bounties on Elara's head, Xandorian agents infiltrating neutral zones. Alex fortified the ship, his human ingenuity shining, rigging traps with everyday tech that outsmarted advanced alien scanners. Elara marveled at his resourcefulness. "You humans, you turn scraps into salvation." Their escape from a close call at a fuel depot only heightened the bond. Dodging patrols, Alex piloted with daring flips, Elara amplifying his focus psychically. In the aftermath, alone in the dim light, she whispered, "You're my hero, Alex," in ways no Zerathian could be. The words unlocked something. That night, as stars streaked by, they gave in to the pull. Her hands explored him with curious wonder, her skin glowing faintly as emotions surged. It was a union of worlds, gentle, exploratory, filled with whispers and sighs that echoed through the ship. Yet, as dawn broke in artificial light, a new alert flashed, a Xandorian warship on intercept course. The adventure was far from over, but in Elara's arms, Alex felt unbreakable. The alert's shrill whine pierced the afterglow like a dagger, yanking Alex back to the cold reality of the cockpit. Elara stirred in his embrace, her bare skin still flushed and warm against his, the faint glow of her bioluminescence fading as adrenaline surged through them both. She pulled away just enough to meet his eyes, her violet gaze sharp with a mix of lingering desire and fresh fear. "They're here," she breathed, her voice a husky whisper that sent shivers down his spine despite the danger. Her white hair, tousled from their night together, framed her face like a halo, and those pointed ears quivered slightly, attuned to frequencies he couldn't hear. Alex nodded, his body reluctant to leave the tangle of sheets on the bunk, but his mind already racing ahead. He slipped into his jumpsuit, the fabric rough against skin still sensitive from her touch, while she draped her shimmering garment over her curves, the material clinging like a second skin, accentuating the swell of her breasts and the graceful dip of her waist. Every movement she made was a distraction, a reminder of the passion they'd shared, her hands exploring him with curious hunger, her lips tasting of stardust and secrets, bodies moving in a rhythm that transcended worlds. But now, the Xandorian warship loomed on the scanners, a massive predator closing in with relentless precision. "Strap in," he said, guiding her to the co-pilot's seat, his hand lingering on the small of her back, feeling the heat radiating from her. The ship shuddered as he fired up the engines, plotting an evasive course through a nearby nebula cloud. The warship's silhouette grew on the view screen, its angular hull bristling with weapons that could vaporize them in an instant. Elara's fingers danced over the auxiliary console, her psychic abilities interfacing with the ship's systems in ways Alex could only marvel at. "I can mask our signature," she murmured, her concentration furrowing her brow, making her look both vulnerable and fiercely determined. As they plunged into the swirling gases of the nebula, the chase began in earnest. Lasers streaked past, illuminating the cockpit in bursts of crimson light. Alex weaved the Stardust runner through debris fields, his human reflexes honed by years of dodging cosmic hazards, while Elara amplified his focus, her mind linking subtly with his. It was intimate, this connection, an echo of their physical union, thoughts brushing like fingertips on bearskin. He could feel her fear, sharp and electric, mingling with his own resolve, and beneath it all, an undercurrent of something deeper, a bond forging in the fire of pursuit. The warship fired a grappling beam, narrowly missing, and the runner lurched violently. Elara gasped, her hand flying to his thigh for stability, the touch igniting sparks even amid the chaos. "Closer," she urged, her voice breathy. "We need to get deeper into the cloud." Alex pushed the throttles, the engines roaring in protest, and for a heart-pounding moment, they vanished into the dense fog, sensors scrambling the enemy's lock. But the Xandorians were persistent. Faint echoes of their communications crackled over intercepted channels, harsh, guttural commands demanding Elara's capture. In the tense lull, as they drifted silently to conserve power, Alex turned to her. The cockpit's dim emergency lights cast shadows that danced across her pale skin, highlighting the elegant lines of her collarbone and the subtle rise and fall of her chest. "Why you?" he asked softly, his fingers tracing the edge of her ear, a gesture that made her shiver. "What makes you so valuable to them?" She leaned into his touch, her eyes half-lidded, a mix of sorrow and desire swirling in their depths. My bloodline holds the key to Zerathia's ancient energies, psychic amplifiers that could tip the balance of power in the galaxy. They want to breed it into their lines. The word hung heavy, laced with revulsion, but also a vulnerability that drew him closer. Her hand slid up his arm, nails grazing lightly, sending a thrill through him. But with you, Alex, it's different. Humans, you're not bound by such cold calculations. Your passion is free, wild. The words stirred him, and in that suspended moment, with death orbiting nearby, he pulled her into a fierce kiss. Her lips parted eagerly, tongue dancing with his in a way that mirrored the nebula's chaotic swirls, urgent, consuming. She pressed against him, her body soft and yielding, curves molding to his firmness as if designed for this very fit. Hands roamed, his slipped under her garment, cupping the fullness of her breast, thumbs circling the peak until she moaned into his mouth, a sound that vibrated through him like a hyperdrive hum. Hers explored lower, fingers deft and teasing, awakening responses that made the danger outside feel distant, almost irrelevant. But the scanners pinged, a probe slicing through the nebula, probing for them. They broke apart, breathless, her cheeks flushed a delicate pink that contrasted her white hair. "We can't stay," Alex growled, his voice thick with frustration and want. He initiated a micro-jump, the ship leaping forward in a burst of energy that left the probe behind. Elara adjusted the shields, her composure cracking just enough to reveal the toll this was taking. "They're getting bolder," she said, her hand still resting on his knee, an anchor in the storm. Hours stretched into an eternity of cat and mouse, the warship always one step behind, forcing Alex to push the runner to its limits. In stolen moments between maneuvers, their connection deepened. She'd whisper Zerathian endearments in his ear, words that translated to promises of eternal linkage, while he shared fragments of earthly romance, poems about star-crossed lovers that made her eyes sparkle. Once, during a brief power-down to evade detection, she straddled his lap in the pilot's chair, her weight a delicious pressure, grinding slowly as they kissed, building heat that begged for release. The fabric between them was thin, tantalizing. He could feel her warmth, the subtle movements that spoke of unspoken needs. "Alex," she purred, her pointed ears brushing his cheek, "you make me feel alive, not just surviving." He gripped her hips, guiding her rhythm, lost in the sensation until another alert shattered the illusion. A missile lock close, too close. With a curse, he flipped the ship into a spin, deploying countermeasures that bloomed like fireworks in the void. Elara clung to him, her body tense but her trust in him absolute. "Your ingenuity," she gasped as they stabilized, "it's what makes humans legendary. No alien tech can match your spirit." The praise fueled him, and as they burst free from the nebula into open space, he spotted a derelict station ahead, an abandoned mining outpost that could serve as a hideout. Docking swiftly, they powered down everything non-essential, huddling in the darkened ship. The warship passed overhead, scanners sweeping, but missing them in the clutter of wreckage. Relief washed over them, mingled with the pent-up tension from their interrupted intimacies. In the quiet aftermath, Elara led him to the cargo bay, where soft emergency glows illuminated crates and shadows. She pushed him gently against a bulkhead, her eyes burning with intent. "We have time now," she murmured, her fingers unzipping his suit with deliberate slowness, exposing his chest to the cool air. He reciprocated, peeling away her garment to reveal the exquisite landscape of her body, pale skin glowing faintly, curves that invited exploration, nipples hardening under his gaze. She was a vision of alien elegance, her small elf-like ears adding an exotic flair that made his blood race. Their joining was slower this time, exploratory and charged with the thrill of near escape. She guided his hands to her most sensitive spots, teaching him the rhythms of Zerathian pleasure, subtle psychic pulses that amplified every caress, every thrust. He learned quickly, his human adaptability turning the encounter into a symphony of gasps and whispers. Her legs wrapped around him, pulling him deeper, her white hair spilling over his shoulders like silk. "More," she urged, her voice a sultry command, body arching in ways that defied gravity's pull. As they moved together, the suspense of the hunt faded into the background, replaced by erotic haze. But even in ecstasy, Alex's mind flickered to the dangers ahead. The warship could circle back. Reinforcements might arrive. Yet in her arms he felt invincible, a human hero rewriting the stars. She climaxed first, a wave of psychic energy rippling through them both, heightening his release until they collapsed in a heap, spent and entwined. Whispers followed, plans for the next move, a daring run to an allied colony where Zerathian sympathizers might help. But as they dressed, a faint vibration hummed through the station. Footsteps? No, something worse, a boarding party breaching the outer hull. The Xandorians had found them after all. Elara's eyes widened, but there was no fear, only determination mirrored in his own. "Together," she said, pressing a quick heated kiss to his lips. Alex grabbed a makeshift weapon from the crates, ready to fight, his body still humming from their passion. The adventure surged forward, but now, with her by his side, every risk felt worth the reward. The metallic clang of the boarding party's breach echoed through the derelict station like a thunderclap, vibrating the air and sending dust motes dancing in the dim glow of emergency lights. Alex's grip tightened on the improvised plasma cutter he'd snatched from the crates, a tool meant for welding hulls, now repurposed as a weapon, its tip humming with barely contained energy. Elara stood beside him, her lithe form tense like a coiled spring, her violet eyes scanning the shadows with an intensity that betrayed her royal heritage. The kiss she'd planted on his lips still burned, a fleeting spark of heat amid the encroaching cold of battle, fueling his resolve. No time for doubts. The Xandorians were here, their armored boots thudding closer, and in that moment, Alex felt the weight of two worlds colliding, his ordinary life shattering against the epic saga of interstellar intrigue. They moved as one, slipping into the labyrinthine corridors of the abandoned outpost, a maze of rusted catwalks and forgotten machinery from some long-lost mining operation. The air was thick with the scent of stale ozone and decay, but beneath it lingered Elara's jasmine-like aroma, a reminder of the intimacy they'd shared just moments ago. "This way," she whispered, her pointed ears twitching as she picked up faint psychic echoes from their pursuers. 5 of them, she sensed, clad in exosuits that amplified their brute strength, weapons charged for capture rather than kill. They wanted her alive, a prize to be paraded and exploited, but Alex wasn't about to let that happen. Humans, after all, had a knack for turning the tables on overwhelming odds, and he intended to prove it. The first confrontation erupted in a narrow passageway, where flickering holograms from old control panels cast eerie, shifting shadows. A Xandorian scout rounded the corner, his hulking form silhouetted against the bulkhead, tall, scaled skin glistening under armor plates, eyes glowing with bioluminescent malice. He raised a disruptor rifle, but Alex was faster, lunging forward with the plasma cutter slicing through the air. The tool connected with the alien's weapon, severing it in a shower of sparks that illuminated the scout's surprised snarl. Elara followed seamlessly, her hand outstretched as she unleashed a psychic blast, a wave of invisible force that slammed the intruder against the wall, crumpling his armor like tin foil. The scout slumped, unconscious, but not before triggering an alarm that wailed through the station, drawing the others like moths to a flame. Heart-pounding, Alex grabbed Elara's hand, pulling her deeper into the bowels of the outpost. "They're coordinating," she panted, her chest heaving, the thin fabric of her garment straining against her curves in the rush of motion. Sweat glistened on her pale skin, making her glow faintly, a beacon in the gloom. He could feel her pulse racing through their linked fingers, a rhythm that mirrored his own, a blend of fear and exhilaration that made every step feel alive with possibility. What secrets did this station hold? Ancient tech, perhaps, or hidden escape pods? Curiosity gnawed at him, but survival came first. They burst into a vast chamber, the heart of the mining operation. A cavernous room dominated by a massive drill rig suspended from the ceiling, surrounded by conveyor belts choked with ore dust. The Xandorians converged from multiple entrances, their voices barking in guttural commands that Elara translated in hushed tones. "Surround the Zerathian. The human is expendable." Expendable? Alex's blood boiled. He'd show them just how wrong they were. Ducking behind a rusted console, he jury-rigged a quick trap, overloading a nearby power conduit with his multi-tool, setting it to detonate on proximity. Elara nodded approval, her eyes gleaming with admiration. Humans' improvised genius was the stuff of her people's legends, and here it was, unfolding in real time. The leader of the boarding party strode in, a towering figure with ornate spikes on his armor denoting rank. Captain Vexer, Elara whispered, a notorious hunter who'd raised Zerathian outposts before. His scales shimmered iridescent under the lights, and he carried a vibro blade that hummed with lethal intent. "Surrender the princess, human worm," he snarled, his voice amplified through a helmet modulator. "Or die screaming." The thrill of the challenge surged through Alex. This was no longer just a chase, it was a standoff that could redefine everything. Elara stepped forward defiantly, her white hair whipping in the draft from ventilation shafts, her body poised with regal grace that made the Xandorians hesitate. "You'll never take me back," she declared, her voice echoing with psychic resonance that rattled their minds, but Vexor laughed, a rasping sound, and signaled his troops to advance. Chaos exploded. Lasers crisscrossed the chamber, scorching metal and igniting small fires that cast dancing flames across the walls. Alex triggered his trap, the conduit exploding in a burst of electricity that fried 2 assailants, their suits sparking as they convulsed and fell. The air filled with acrid smoke, heightening the drama, every shadow a potential threat. In the melee, Elara and Alex fought back-to-back, a symphony of human grit and alien mysticism. She deflected a bolt with a psychic shield, the energy rippling like water around her, while he charged another foe, tackling him to the ground in a grapple that relied on sheer earthborn strength. Fists flew. The Xandorian's claws raked his arm, drawing blood that stung like fire. But Alex headbutted him, cracking the helmet visor and stunning the beast. Pain sharpened his senses, making the world vivid, the metallic tang in the air, the heat of battle, Elara's encouraging cries as she hurled telekinetic debris at their enemies. But the climax built toward something unforeseen. Vexor closed in on Elara, his vibroblade swinging in wide arcs that forced her to dodge with acrobatic flips, her garment tearing slightly at the hem, revealing more of her toned legs in a flash that was both distracting and empowering. She countered with a psychic probe, delving into his mind to uncover weaknesses, but what she found made her gasp audibly. "Alex!" she cried mid-dodge as Vexor lunged. "He's not just a hunter, he's my half-brother, twisted by Xandorian experiments." The revelation hit like a supernova, surprising even in the heat of combat. Half-brother. The curious twist unraveled layers. Elara's lineage wasn't just royal, it was fractured by betrayal, her own blood turned against her through genetic tampering. Vexor's eyes narrowed behind his visor, confirming it with a venomous hiss. "Sister dear, our father sold you out long ago. Join me or perish with this pathetic human." Thrilling fury coursed through Alex. He wouldn't let this family drama end in tragedy. Spotting the suspended drill rig above, he sprinted toward the control panel, dodging fire as he went. His fingers flew over the dusty keys, hacking the ancient system with codes from his mechanic days, overriding safeties, priming the massive drill to descend. Elara held Vexor at bay, her psychic assaults clashing with his augmented defenses in sparks of mental energy that lit the room like fireworks. The remaining Xandorian charged Alex, but he sidestepped, using the plasma cutter to sever the alien's leg armor, sending him sprawling. With a triumphant yell, Alex activated the rig. The drill plummeted like a guillotine, crashing down between Elara and Vexor, the impact shaking the chamber and sending shockwaves that knocked everyone off balance. Dust and debris filled the air, obscuring vision in a thrilling haze. Vexor roared in frustration, separated by the wreckage, his path blocked as structural beams groaned and collapsed. "This isn't over," he bellowed, retreating with his wounded troops through a side exit, their footsteps fading into echoes. Panting, Alex rushed to Elara's side, pulling her from the rubble. She clung to him, her body trembling not from fear but from the emotional torrent, the surprise of familial betrayal mingling with the high of victory. How did you know to do that?" she asked, her voice laced with awe, violet eyes wide and curious. He grinned through the grime on his face, wiping blood from his lip. "Human intuition. We adapt, we improvise. And for you, I'd move mountains or drills." Their embrace was fierce, charged with the drama of survival, her curves pressing against him in a way that reignited the spark from before. But as the station stabilized, a new alert pinged from his wrist comm, the warship orbiting above, preparing to bombard the outpost. Escape was imperative, and with Vexor's revelation hanging like a sword, the stakes had skyrocketed. They raced toward a hidden shuttle bay Elara had sensed psychically, the thrill of the unknown propelling them. What other secrets did her past hold? How deep did the conspiracy run? The questions buzzed in Alex's mind, curious tendrils weaving through the adrenaline. Boarding a dusty escape pod, they launched into the void just as the first orbital strikes hammered the station, explosions blooming behind them like fiery flowers. As the pod hurtled toward a nearby asteroid belt for cover, Elara turned to him, her hand slipping into his with a surprising tenderness. "You've changed everything, Alex. But there's more." Vexor's mind revealed a greater threat. A weapon on Xandor that could enslave entire systems. The words hung heavy, a dramatic pivot that promised more peril, but in her gaze there was hope, a thrilling alliance forged in fire. Navigating the asteroids, Alex plotted their next move, a daring infiltration of a neutral hub to gather allies. The battle had been won, but the war loomed larger, surprising in its scope. Yet with Elara by his side, her ethereal beauty and fierce spirit intertwined with his human tenacity, he felt ready for whatever cosmic surprises awaited. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and woes, but together, they were unbreakable. The escape pod's thrusters sputtered as it wove through the jagged maze of the asteroid belt, chunks of rock tumbling lazily in the vacuum like forgotten relics of some cosmic demolition derby. Alex gripped the controls, his knuckles white, while Elara monitored the scanners, her elegant fingers flying over the makeshift console with a grace that belied the urgency. The revelation about the Xandorian weapon, a colossal psychic amplifier capable of bending minds across star systems, hung between them like a storm cloud, amplifying the drama of their narrow escape. If Vexer and his ilk got their hands on it fully operational, entire civilizations could fall under their thrall, and Elara's bloodline was the missing catalyst to activate its full potential. No pressure, Alex thought wryly, glancing at her profile illuminated by the pod's flickering displays, her white hair catching the light like fresh snow, those pointed ears perked in concentration, and her curvaceous form still clad in the torn remnants of her garment, which now seemed more like a provocative tease than regal attire. "We need allies," Alex said, breaking the tense silence as he banked hard to avoid a spinning boulder the size of a small moon. "That neutral hub I mentioned, Elysium Station. It's a melting pot of smugglers, diplomats, and outcasts. If anyone's got dirt on Xandor, it'll be there." Elara nodded, her violet eyes reflecting the stars streaking by, but there was a new layer of worry etching her features, heightening the emotional stakes. This wasn't just about her survival anymore. It was about preventing galactic domination, and Alex, the unassuming mechanic, found himself smack in the hero's seat. Humanity's fabled resilience was about to be tested, and he couldn't help but feel a surge of HFY pride. Humans didn't just survive, they thrived in the chaos. The pod's alarms blared suddenly, detecting a trailing drone from the warship, its sensors probing like insistent fingers. Drama escalated as Alex executed a series of evasive spins, the G-forces pressing them back into their seats, Elara's hand instinctively reaching for his thigh to steady herself. The touch was electric, a reminder of their earlier passions, but now laced with the raw edge of peril. "It's locking on," she cried, her voice a mix of fear and determination. With a grunt, Alex fired the pod's meager countermeasures, a burst of chaff that confused the drone long enough for him to slingshot around an asteroid, using its gravity to hurl them toward Elysium. The drone exploded in a distant flash, but the close call left them both breathing heavily, the air thick with unspoken what-ifs. Docking at Elysium Station was a gamble in itself, a sprawling orbital behemoth orbiting a gas giant, its rings of docking bays buzzing with ships from every corner of the galaxy. As the pod clamped onto a lower-level berth reserved for low-profile arrivals, Alex helped Elara adjust her disguise. A hooded cloak scavenged from the pod's emergency kit, draped over her shimmering outfit to hide her ethereal features. But the cloak was comically oversized, swallowing her petite frame and making her elf-like ears poke out awkwardly whenever she moved. "You look like a space monk who's had one too many cosmic brews," Alex teased, trying to lighten the mood with a dash of humor amid the rising tension. She shot him a playful glare, but her lips quirked in a smile, her pointed ears twitching in amusement. "And you look like a hero who's forgotten his cape," she retorted, her accent adding a melodic lilt that made the jab endearing. Stepping into the station's underbelly heightened the drama immediately. The air was a cacophony of alien tongues, clanging machinery, and the sizzle of street food vendors hawking glowing skewers. Crowds surged, tentacled merchants bartering crystals, avian diplomats fluttering their wings in heated debates, and shadowy figures lurking in alcoves. Alex kept a protective arm around Elara's waist, feeling the warmth of her body through the cloak, her curves a subtle distraction that stirred memories of their intimate moments. But awkwardness struck when they navigated a narrow corridor lined with holographic ads for exotic companions, scantily clad projections that winked suggestively. One ad, featuring a Zerathian-like figure, glitched and superimposed over Elara, making her image dance provocatively. "Is that me?" she whispered, cheeks flushing a rare pink as passers-by glanced their way. Alex stifled a laugh, the humor bubbling up despite the stakes. "Nah, you're way classier. But hey, if the hero gig falls through, we could start a side hustle." She elbowed him gently, her laughter a soft chime that eased the knot in his chest, but the moment turned dramatic as a burly security drone scanned them. State your business, it droned, its red eye lingering on Elara's concealed form. Alex flashed a forged ID chip, human ingenuity at work, claiming they were traders in rare spices. The drone hesitated, then waved them through, but not before Elara's cloak slipped, revealing a glimpse of her white hair and pointed ear. The drone's sensors whirred suspiciously, forcing them to duck into a side alley, hearts racing. Deeper into the station, they sought out Alex's old contact, a grizzled informant named Zara. No, wait, that was one of the suggested names, but let's make it fit. Actually, an old smuggling buddy named Milo, a fellow human with a knack for sniffing out intel. Milo ran a dingy bar in the lower levels, the Void's Edge, where the drinks glowed and the patrons whispered secrets. Pushing through the swinging doors, the drama intensified. The place was packed, a haze of smoke from vapor pipes curling around low tables where aliens gambled away fortunes. Milo spotted them from behind the bar, his bearded face breaking into a grin. "Alex Thorne, you old stardog. What's with the mysterious date? She looks too good for your ugly muck." Elara stiffened under the cloak, her hand tightening on Alex's arm, creating an awkward pause as Milo eyed her curiously. Alex chuckled nervously, heightening the humor in the discomfort. "Easy, Milo, she's my new mechanic apprentice, from Lunara." Milo raised an eyebrow, clearly not buying it, but poured them glowing blue shots anyway. "Apprentice, huh? With ears like that peeking out? Looks more like she's from a fairy tale vid. Sit, spill, what's the As they huddled in a booth, the conversation turned serious, drama building like a crescendo. Elara, lowering her hood slightly in the dim light, explained the Xandorian threat, the weapon Vexor's betrayal, her lineage's role. Milo's eyes widened, the humor fading into grave concern. "That's heavy, kid. Xandor's been ramping up, rumors of a doomsday device floating around. But allies? Tricky. The station's crawling with spies." Just then, an awkward situation unfolded. A drunken avian patron stumbled over, feathers ruffled, mistaking Elara for a performer. "Hey, pretty thing, dance for us? I'll pay in credits." He flapped his wings clumsily, spilling his drink on the table. Elara's eyes flashed with indignation, her psychic aura flaring subtly, but Alex intervened with a mix of humor and protectiveness. "Whoa, buddy, she's not on the menu, unless you want a dance that'll send you orbiting without a ship." The avian blinked, then burst into squawking laughter, backing off with apologies. Milo snorted, wiping the spill. "Smooth, Alex. But seriously, if you're hunting allies, try the upper decks. There's a Zerathian exile named Tiva up there. Runs a black market info net. But watch your back, Xandorian agents are everywhere." The tip escalated the drama. Tiva could be the key, but reaching her meant traversing the station's elite levels, where security was tighter and disguises thinner. As they slipped out, Elara's cloak caught on a chair, yanking it off dramatically and exposing her full allure, pale skin glowing under the bar lights, her garment hugging her sensual figure like a second skin, drawing every eye in the room. Whistles and murmurs erupted, turning the exit into a comedic scramble. "Great, now we're the floor show," Alex muttered, grabbing the cloak and bundling her out, his face red with a blend of embarrassment and amusement. She giggled breathlessly as they ran, her hand in his. Humans and their chaos, it's oddly charming. Navigating the elevators to the upper decks amped the tension. The lift was crowded with haughty diplomats, their stares lingering on the disheveled traders. Elara pressed close to Alex, her body warm and inviting against his side, stirring awkward desires amid the peril. "Feel that?" she whispered, her breath hot on his ear. Psychic static, someone's probing. Sure enough, a sleek Xandorian in civilian garb eyed them suspiciously, his hand inching toward a concealed comm. Drama peaked as the elevator dinged at their floor. Alex accidentally bumped the agent, spilling a pilfered drink from the bar onto his lap. "Oops, clumsy human here," Alex quipped with feigned apology, the humor diffusing the moment as the agent cursed and fumbled, allowing them to slip away. Tiva's lair was an opulent suite disguised as a trading office, guarded by holographic sentries that scanned for threats. Posing as buyers, they gained entry, but the drama heightened when Tiva, a striking Zerathian with silver hair and a commanding presence, recognized Elara instantly. "Princess, by the stars, you're alive." The reunion was emotional, tears in Elara's eyes as old alliances rekindled, but awkwardness ensued when Tiva assumed Alex was Elara's consort, winking knowingly. "A human, bold choice, they say your kind has stamina." Alex choked on his words, face flushing while Elara stifled a laugh. "He's more than that," she said proudly, her hand squeezing his. Tiva provided crucial intel, schematics of the Xandorian weapon, hidden on a fortified moon base, but activating it required Elara's essence. "You'll need a team," Tiva warned, the stakes soaring. As they left with encrypted data, alarms blared, the station on lockdown, Xandorians' rating levels below. Milo calmed frantically. "Get out, they're onto you." Chaos erupted in the corridors, lasers firing as agents closed in. Alex and Elara dashed through service tunnels, her cloak abandoned, her glamorous outfit drawing ironic catcalls from fleeing patrons amid the panic. In a humorous twist, they hid in a maintenance closet, bodies pressed together in the cramped space, breaths mingling. "Not the romantic hideaway I imagined," Alex joked, his hands on her hips to steady them. She smirked, her curves shifting against him teasingly. Humans find romance in the strangest places. But the drama cut the levity short. A vent grate rattled, an agent crawling through. Alex sealed it with a quick weld from his tool, but the close call left them racing for the docks. Back at the pod, they blasted off just as station defenses lit up the sky, pursuers in hot pursuit. Elara's revelation from Tiva added layers. Vexor wasn't just twisted, he was the weapon's guardian, bound by blood oaths. The path ahead, to infiltrate the moon base, promised more drama, awkward entanglements, and perhaps a few laughs along the way. With Elara's trust and his human wit, Alex felt the galaxy bending to their will, one thrilling step at a time. The pod's engines roared to life as they tore away from Elysium Station, the gas giant's swirling clouds receding in the rear view screen amid a hail of warning shots from pursuing Xandorian fighters. Alex's hands danced over the controls with practiced precision, weaving through the orbital debris field like a thread through a needle, his focus unbreakable despite the adrenaline surging through his veins. Elara sat strapped in beside him, her pale skin still flushed from the chaos of their escape, her white hair disheveled in a way that only accentuated her ethereal beauty. The torn edges of her garment clung to her curves, a testament to the trials they'd endured, and in the confined space of the pod, her presence was intoxicating. A blend of jasmine scent and the subtle glow of her bioluminescence that seemed to pulse in rhythm with the ship's alarms. The revelations from Tiva echoed in their minds. The weapon's location on Xandor's fortified moon base, Vexor's twisted guardianship, and the urgent need for a stealthy approach. But with enemies closing in, survival demanded they push forward, their bond the only anchor in the storm. A glancing laser strike rocked the pod, sparks flying from a console as Alex cursed under his breath. "Hang on, I'm routing power to the cloaking field." He flipped switches, his mechanic's ingenuity shining through as he jury-rigged the system to mimic asteroid signatures. Elara reached over, her fingers brushing his in a gesture of support, channeling a faint psychic boost that stabilized the field. The fighters veered off, sensors fooled, buying them precious time to jump into hyperspace toward the moon base's coordinates. As the stars blurred into streaks, the immediate danger ebbed, leaving a charged silence in its wake. Elara unbuckled first, her movements fluid and graceful, turning to him with eyes that held a storm of emotions, gratitude, fear, and something deeper, more primal. "You were brilliant back there," she murmured, her voice a soft caress that sent warmth spreading through him. She floated closer in the low gravity, her body brushing against his as she helped him out of his harness. The contact was electric, reigniting the sparks from their earlier intimacies, her curves pressing softly against his chest in a way that made his breath catch. In the dim glow of the pod's interior, her pointed ears framed her face like delicate accents, and her pale skin seemed to invite touch, smooth and inviting under the fabric that hugged her form so elegantly. Alex felt the tension of battle melt into a different kind of heat, one that had been building since their first stolen moments aboard the Stardust Runner. He pulled her into his lap, the seat creaking under their combined weight, his hands settling on her hips with a familiarity born of shared perils. "We make a good team," he replied, his voice husky, eyes locking onto hers. The violet depths pulled him in, reflecting the stars outside, and in that gaze he saw not just an alien princess, but a partner who had awakened parts of him he'd long ignored. She smiled, a slow, inviting curve of her lips, and leaned in, her white hair cascading over his shoulders like a silken veil. Their kiss started gentle, a reaffirmation of life after the brush with death, but quickly deepened, tongues exploring with a hunger that mirrored the galaxy's vastness. Her hands roamed his back, nails grazing lightly through his jumpsuit, sending shivers down his spine. The pod's autopilot hummed steadily, giving them this rare bubble of privacy amid the cosmos. Elara shifted, straddling him more fully, her thighs warm and firm against his, the elegant lines of her outfit riding up to reveal more of her toned legs. She was a vision of otherworldly allure, her body responding to his touch with a subtle glow that illuminated the space around them. Alex's fingers traced the contours of her waist, slipping under the fabric to feel the softness of her skin, the gentle rise and fall of her breathing syncing with his own. "I've never felt this way," she whispered against his neck, her breath hot and tantalizing, her pointed ears brushing his cheek as she nuzzled closer. "Humans, your passion is like a supernova, consuming and beautiful." He chuckled softly, the sound rumbling between them, his hands exploring higher, cupping the fullness beneath her garment with reverence. She arched into his touch, a soft sigh escaping her lips, her curves yielding yet demanding more. The connection was more than physical, her psychic essence wove into his thoughts, amplifying every sensation, turning simple caresses into waves of shared ecstasy. They moved together in the confined space, clothes shedding like unnecessary barriers, her pale form revealed in all its graceful splendor, curves that spoke of strength and vulnerability, skin that glowed warmer with each passing moment. Alex marveled at her, his human heart pounding with a mix of awe and desire, proving once again that humanity's capacity for deep, unspoken bonds could bridge even stellar divides. Their union was tender at first, a slow exploration of bodies and souls, her hands guiding him with curious wonder, discovering the rhythms that made him gasp. She was responsive, her body molding to his with an elegance that felt both alien and profoundly intimate, her white hair spilling across his chest like starlight. As passion built, the pace quickened, hips moving in harmony, breaths mingling in heated whispers. Elara's glow intensified, enveloping them in a soft aura that pulsed with their shared rhythm, heightening every touch, every connection. He held her close, his strength a counterpoint to her lithe form, their movements a dance of mutual surrender and empowerment. In those moments, the threats outside, the weapon, Vexor, the Empire, faded into insignificance, replaced by the profound intimacy of two beings from different worlds finding solace in each other. Waves of pleasure crested, leaving them breathless and entwined, her head resting on his shoulder as aftershocks rippled through them. Alex stroked her back, fingers tracing lazy patterns on her skin, feeling the subtle hum of her psychic energy syncing with his heartbeat. "You're incredible," he murmured, planting a kiss on her forehead, just below the cascade of her hair. She lifted her head, violet eyes sparkling with contentment, her pointed ears flushing a delicate shade. "And you, Alex, are the heart of why humans inspire such tales. Your love isn't just given, it's fierce, protective." As they lingered in the afterglow, the pod systems beeped a soft alert, hyperspace exit approaching the moon base's outer perimeter. Reality intruded gently, but their bond felt stronger, forged in the fires of passion and peril. Elara dressed with unhurried grace, her garment reforming around her curves as if attuned to her will, while Alex zipped up his suit, already plotting their infiltration. The moon base loomed in the distance on the scanners, a fortress of dark spires and energy shields, guarding the weapon that could doom or save galaxies. But with Elara by his side, her presence a constant reminder of what they fought for, Alex felt an unshakable confidence. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't technology or might, it was the unbreakable connections they formed, turning strangers into soulmates amid the stars. They reviewed Tiva's schematics in hushed tones, her hand occasionally brushing his, a subtle promise of more moments like this once the storm passed. The base's defenses were formidable, patrol drones, psychic dampeners, and Vexor's personal guard. But Alex's human creativity sparked ideas, hacking entry points with improvised codes, using Elara's abilities to mask their approach. As the pod cloaked and drifted closer, tension built anew, but so did their resolve. In the quiet before the storm, Elara leaned over, her lips grazing his ear. "Whatever comes, we face it together." Her words, laced with the warmth of their recent closeness, fueled him like nothing else. The infiltration began with a risky orbital insertion, the pod grazing the moon's thin atmosphere to avoid detection. They suited up in stealth gear, scavenged from Elysium, form-fitting suits that hugged Elara's figure in a way that distracted Alex momentarily, her elegant poise making even utilitarian attire look regal. Landing in a crater's shadow, they emerged into the harsh lunar landscape, gravity low and air recyclers humming. Hand in hand, they advanced toward a service vent, Alex using his tools to bypass locks while Elara scanned for mines. The drama of the mission unfolded step by step, their recent intimacy lending a layer of quiet intensity to every glance, every whispered plan. Inside the base, corridors stretched like veins of cold metal, lit by pulsing red lights that cast dramatic shadows. They moved stealthily, avoiding patrols, but a close encounter in a storage bay tested their synergy. A guard rounded the corner unexpectedly, and Elara's psychic pulse stunned him silently, her body tense and glowing faintly from the effort. Alex caught her as she swayed, their faces inches apart, the moment charged with residual heat. "You okay?" he asked, his concern deepening their connection. She nodded, a small smile playing on her lips, her curves brushing against him in the tight space. Deeper in, they reached the weapons chamber, a vast dome housing the psychic amplifier, a crystalline monolith humming with latent power. Vexor stood before it, his scaled form silhouetted, interfacing with controls. The sight heightened everything, the stakes, the betrayal, the need for action. But as they prepared to strike, Elara's hand tightened on Alex's, her touch a grounding force. Their bond, sealed in passion, would be the key to dismantling this threat, proving that love across the stars could conquer even the darkest empires. The chamber's crystalline monolith pulsed with an ominous rhythm, its facets refracting the red emergency lights into a kaleidoscope of crimson shards that danced across the metallic walls like bloodied stars. Alex and Elara crouched in the shadows of an access alcove, their stealth suits blending seamlessly with the gloom, hearts synchronized in the tense hush before the storm. Vexor's silhouette loomed before the amplifier, his clawed hands interfacing with holographic controls that flickered like dying embers, murmuring incantations in the harsh Xandorian tongue. The air hummed with latent power, a psychic pressure that pressed against their minds, but Elara's subtle shielding held, her essence weaving a protective veil around them. Their recent closeness lingered in every glance, a quiet strength born from shared vulnerabilities, bodies and souls intertwined in ways that made the impending confrontation feel not just necessary, but profoundly personal. Love, in its rawest form, had become their shield, and Alex clung to that thought as he whispered their plan one final time. "We hit the auxiliary nodes first," he said softly, his breath warm against her ear, fingers brushing hers in a reassuring squeeze. "Disrupt the power flow, then you interface with the core to overload it. I'll cover you from Vexor." Elara nodded, her violet eyes steady, the glow of her skin subdued under the suit but still faintly visible up close, a reminder of her otherworldly grace. She was more than a princess in exile now. She was his partner, his equal in this cosmic dance, and the depth of that realization fueled his human determination. Humanity's tales weren't just about conquest, they were about protecting what mattered, turning the tide with heart and ingenuity when all else failed. They moved like ghosts, slipping from cover to plant microcharges on the nodes, small, improvised explosives Alex had cobbled from scavenged parts during their approach. Each placement was precise, his mechanic's hands steady despite the adrenaline, while Elara scanned for alarms, her psychic tendrils probing the ether without detection. The base's corridors had been a gauntlet of close calls, but here in the heart of the enemy, tension coiled tighter, every shadow a potential betrayal. Vexor remained oblivious, his focus locked on the monolith, scales rippling as he adjusted parameters, the amplifier's hum growing louder, vibrating through the floor like a awakening beast. With the charges set, Alex signaled the detonation, a silent pulse from his wrist device. The nodes erupted in controlled bursts, sparks cascading like fireworks, severing power lines and plunging sections of the chamber into flickering darkness. Alarms wailed immediately, red strobes pulsing, and Vexor whirled with a roar, his augmented eyes scanning the chaos. "Intruders! Seal the chamber." Guards poured in from hidden doors, their armored forms clanking, weapons charging with lethal glows. Alex opened fire with his compact blaster, picking off two before they could react, his shots precise and unrelenting, human marksmanship honed from simulator games and real-world scrapes proving deadly effective. Elara dashed toward the monolith, her suit's camouflage shimmering as she evaded a hail of bolts, her lithe body twisting with acrobatic finesse. She reached the core, palms pressing against the crystal surface, her psychic energy flowing in like a river into the sea. "I'm in," she called over the comm, her voice strained but resolute. The amplifier shuddered, interfaces glitching as she began the overload sequence, drawing on her bloodline's ancient affinity to manipulate its energies. Alex covered her flank, dodging behind consoles, his blaster barking in retort to the guard's fire. One charged him, claws extended, but he sidestepped and countered with a point-blank shot, the alien crumpling in a heap. Sweat beaded on his brow, the drama of the fight intensifying with each passing second, the fate of galaxies hanging on this razor edge. Vexor zeroed in on Elara, his vibroblade igniting with a sinister hum, advancing through the fray like a juggernaut. "You dare challenge me here, sister? This power was meant for us, for the Empire." His voice boomed, laced with madness, the betrayal in his eyes a twisted mirror of familial bonds shattered. Alex intercepted, leaping between them with a defiant yell, his blaster jamming at the worst moment. He discarded it, grabbing a fallen guard staff weapon instead, parrying Vexor's blade in a clash of sparks. The impact jarred his arms, but he held, human grit matching alien augmentation. "She's not yours to claim," Alex growled, swinging low to unbalance the hulking figure. Vexor laughed, a guttural sound, pressing the attack with relentless fury. The battle raged, guards falling one by one to Alex's improvised tactics, overloading a console to electrocute a cluster, using debris as projectiles with Elara's psychic assist. She worked feverishly at the core, the monolith's hum rising to a deafening pitch, cracks forming in its surface as the overload built. "Almost there," she panted, her glow intensifying, white hair escaping her hood in wild strands. But Vexor broke through Alex's defense, a glancing blow sending him sprawling, pain exploding in his side. The Xandorian loomed over him, blade raised for the kill. "Pathetic human, your kind's legends end here." Time seemed to slow, the chamber's chaos blurring into a singular focus. Elara's cry pierced the din, "No," and in that instant she diverted a surge of energy from the amplifier, channeling it toward Vexor. But something went awry, the power backlashed, rippling through her like a shockwave. She staggered, the monolith stabilizing unexpectedly, its hum steadying. Vexor froze, his eyes widening not in pain but in revelation. "The link, it's active." He dropped his blade, turning toward the core with an almost reverent gaze. Alex scrambled to his feet, ignoring the agony in his ribs, rushing to Elara's side as she slumped against the crystal. "What happened? Talk to me." Her violet eyes met his, filled with a mix of horror and confusion, her hand clutching his arm. The amplifier's interfaces shifted, holograms blooming to reveal hidden data streams, logs, schematics, genetic codes. And then the twist unfolded, a revelation that shattered everything they thought they knew. The monolith wasn't just a weapon, it was a repository, an ancient artifact predating even Zerathia's fall. As Elara's essence interfaced deeper, compelled by the backlash, buried memories unlocked, not hers but ancestral echoes encoded in her bloodline. "Alex, it's not what we thought," she whispered, her voice trembling. The holograms clarified. Vexor wasn't her half-brother by betrayal, he was a clone, engineered from her father's DNA to serve as a decoy guardian. But the true surprise surged forth. The weapon wasn't Xandorian in origin. It was human. Stunned silence gripped them as the data poured out. Centuries ago, Earth explorers had seeded the galaxy with experimental tech, psychic amplifiers meant to enhance human colonies. Lost in a warp storm, the device crashed on Xandor, where it was reverse-engineered, twisted into a tool of domination. Elara's lineage wasn't the key to activating it. It was the safeguard. Zerathians, with their natural psychic attunement, had been unwitting custodians, their blood coded by ancient human alliances to prevent misuse. Vexor's experiments were attempts to bypass that, but the core recognized Elara not as fuel, but as administrator. The guards hesitated, sensing the shift, while Vexor, now revealed as a fabricated pawn, stumbled back, his augmented mind fracturing under the truth. "Impossible, I was made to protect this." The amplifier, responding to Elara's presence, initiated a self-diagnostic revealing logs of human creators, names like Thorne, Alex's own surname echoing through the ages. His ancestors had been part of the seeding project, their DNA imprinted as overrides. Alex stared at the holograms, the surprise hitting like a hyper-jump. He wasn't just a mechanic thrust into heroism. He was the heir to this legacy, his human blood the true catalyst to disarm or wield the device. Elara turned to him, her eyes wide with awe and a touch of fear. "You're connected to this. The monolith responds to you too." Testing it, Alex placed his hand beside hers on the crystal. The hum softened, interfaces yielding to his touch as if recognizing an old friend. The twist reframed everything. Humanity hadn't just stumbled into the stars, they'd shaped them, their forgotten innovations now the pivot of interstellar fate. Vexor, overwhelmed, deactivated his own augmentations in a fit of existential crisis, collapsing as the guards stood down, confused loyalties unraveling. With the amplifier under their control, Elara and Alex initiated the shutdown sequence together, the monolith powering down in a cascade of fading lights. But the revelation lingered, a powerful pivot that surprised even in victory. Alex, the ordinary human, was the galaxy's hidden architect, his bond with Elara not chance but destiny woven across time. As reinforcements, summoned by Tiva's allies, breached the base from outside, the couple shared a look, the weight of this new truth deepening their connection. The fight wasn't over. With this knowledge, they could rally worlds, expose the human origins, and forge a new era. But for now, in the dimming chamber, they held each other, the surprise of their intertwined fates a beacon brighter than any star. Evacuating amid the chaos, Alex piloted a commandeered shuttle off the moon, Elara at his side, her hand in his as they jumped to safety. The twist had upended their world, but it empowered them too. Humanity's legacy wasn't conquest, but creation, and with Elara, Alex would reclaim it. Allies awaited, empires trembled, and their story, born from a simple purchase in a black market, had become legend. The shuttle's hyperspace tunnel shimmered around them like a cocoon of swirling light, propelling Alex and Elara away from the moon base's crumbling defenses toward the coordinates Tiva had provided, a hidden rendezvous point in a nebula cluster where Zerathian allies awaited. Alex leaned back in the pilot's seat, his side throbbing from the earlier wound but bandaged hastily with med gel that tingled like 1,000 tiny ants marching across his skin. The revelation still buzzed in his mind like an overcharged circuit. His ancestor's hand in the amplifier's creation, his bloodline's unexpected tie to galactic history. It was a lot to process for a guy who'd started his day thinking he was just smuggling a pet, but with Elara's hand still clasped in his, the weight felt shared, almost manageable. Her violet eyes flicked to the scanners, ever vigilant, her white hair catching the console's glow in a way that made her look like a living star map, ethereal, untouchable, yet here she was, grounded by their bond. "We're clear for now," she said, her voice a soothing melody amid the hum of the engines, but laced with the undercurrent of drama that had defined their journey. The Xandorian forces would regroup, Vexor's clone status adding a layer of tragic irony to the pursuit. He wasn't just a villain, but a manufactured echo of her family's failures, now adrift in his own existential void. Allies from Tiva's network had swarmed the base in the nick of time, turning the tide, but the Empire's reach was long, and whispers of reinforcements echoed in intercepted comms. Alex squeezed her hand, drawing strength from her warmth, the subtle psychic hum between them a reminder that their connection transcended bloodlines or tech. "Human legacy or not, we're rewriting the script together," he murmured, trying to inject a note of optimism into the charged air. As the shuttle exited hyperspace into the nebula's swirling mists, gases in hues of purple and gold that danced like veils around hidden asteroids, the drama escalated with a sudden ping from the nav system. "Incoming vessels," Elara announced, her pointed ears twitching as she amplified the signals psychically. Not Xandorians, but a ragtag fleet of Zerathian exiles, their ships sleek and crystalline, emerging from the clouds like ghosts materializing. The lead vessel hailed them, a holographic projection flickering to life. Tiva herself, her silver hair braided with glowing threads, her expression a mix of relief and urgency. "Princess Elara and her human consort, welcome, dock immediately. We've secured the perimeter, but Xandor scouts are probing the edges." The term consort hung in the air like an awkward echo, heightening the moment as Alex's cheeks warmed under Elara's amused glance. "Consort, is that what they're calling me now?" he quipped, rubbing the back of his neck with feigned indignation, adding a touch of humor to diffuse the tension. Elara chuckled, a light, chiming sound that eased the knot in his chest. "In Zerathian terms, it's a high honor. Means you're essential." Her eyes sparkled mischievously, her curves shifting as she leaned closer, the suit hugging her form in ways that made focusing on docking procedures a heroic effort. "Though humans might say boyfriend, or is it space hubby?" Alex snorted, nearly missing the alignment beacon. "Let's stick with hero for now, saves on the awkward introductions." Docking with the flagship, a majestic vessel named the Orales, its hull etched with bioluminescent runes that pulsed like a living heartbeat, thrust them into a whirlwind of activity. Zerathian crew members, elegant beings with similar pointed ears and glowing skin, swarmed the bay, their gazes lingering on Alex with a mix of curiosity and awe. Whispers rippled through the group, the human who unlocked the ancient core, bound to the princess by fate. The drama built as Tiva embraced Elara like a long-lost sister, tears glistening in her eyes, but the awkwardness peaked when a young Zerathian aide bowed deeply to Alex, addressing him as Lord Thorne, scion of the Cedars. Alex blinked, frozen mid-step. "Lord me, I fix engines for a living. Last week I was unclogging a fuel line with a coat hanger. The aide's eyes widened in confusion, while Elara stifled a laugh, her hand on his arm a grounding touch. Humans and their humility, Tiva remarked with a wry smile. It's refreshing. Come, we have much to discuss. The council chamber aboard the Orales was a dome of transparent crystal, offering panoramic views of the nebula's majesty, swirling colors that seemed to mirror the emotional turbulence within. Gathered around a holographic table were Zerathian elders, their robes flowing like liquid light, and a handful of human expatriates who'd allied with the exiles. The drama intensified as Elara recounted their ordeal, the amplifier's human origins projected in vivid detail, ancient Earth schematics, genetic imprints linking Alex's lineage to the creators. Gasps echoed. One elder leaned forward, his voice grave. This changes everything. If humans ceded such power, Xandor will hunt you both relentlessly, not just for the princess, but to erase this truth. Alex felt the weight press down, his ordinary roots clashing with this epic narrative, but he cracked a joke to lighten the load. Great, from pet owner to galactic target. Next time I buy discount stuff, remind me to check the fine print. The room chuckled uneasily, the humor a brief respite in the rising stakes, but awkwardness struck anew during the strategy session. As maps of Xandor's core worlds flickered holographically, an elder suggested a ritual to formalize Alex and Elara's bond, a Zerathian soul-weaving ceremony to amplify their psychic link against the Empire's threats. Elara's cheeks flushed a delicate glow, her curves accentuated as she shifted uncomfortably. It's intimate, she explained to Alex in a hushed aside, her violet eyes avoiding his. Involves shared energies, public affirmations. Alex's mind raced to their private moments, heat rising as he imagined it before an audience. Like a wedding, with an alien twist. Do I need to bring a ring or just my best jumpsuit? The elder overheard, misinterpreting his quip as enthusiasm, and beamed. Excellent, we'll prepare the chamber. Tiva shot them a sympathetic look, whispering, Zerathians take bonds seriously, think of it as cosmic team building. Elara elbowed Alex playfully. You started this with your consort charm. The ceremony, thrust upon them sooner than expected to rally the fleet's morale, heightened the drama to fever pitch. In a grand hall lit by floating orbs, Zerathians gathered, their murmurs a symphony of anticipation. Alex stood beside Elara on a raised platform, dressed in borrowed robes that felt like wearing a fancy curtain, itchy and oversized, the fabric bunching awkwardly around his frame. I look like a space wizard who failed laundry day, he muttered, tugging at the collar, eliciting a giggle from Elara that drew fond smiles from the crowd. She looked radiant, her garment enhanced with glowing threads that hugged her sensual figure, her white hair adorned with crystal pins, pointed ears framed elegantly. The elder intoned ancient words, guiding their hands to a central orb where psychic energies intertwined. As the link deepened, memories flashed between them, Elara's childhood in crystal palaces, Alex's gritty Earth upbringing, blending in a rush that was both profound and hilariously disorienting. Alex glimpsed a Zerathian courtship dance involving levitation, while Elara caught a snippet of human dating via awkward holovids. You woo with? Pizza. She whispered mid-ritual, her voice cracking with suppressed laughter. Alex grinned. Hey, it works better than floating around like a balloon. The crowd mistook their whispers for affectionate vows, applauding warmly, but the awkward intimacy peaked when the orb pulsed, sending a wave of shared sensations through them, echoes of their passions, amplified for a split second. Elara's glow brightened, her body pressing closer instinctively, while Alex fought a flush, the robes suddenly feeling too constrictive. Timing's everything, he joked under his breath, earning a playful glare from her. The ritual complete, their bond strengthened, Elara could now channel Alex's human intuition psychically, enhancing strategies against Xandor. The fleet mobilized for a counterstrike. But drama surged with an urgent alert, Xandorian dreadnoughts breaching the nebula's edge, led by a revitalized Vexor, who'd apparently rebooted his purpose with fanatical zeal. He's coming for the Scion, Tiva warned, the term dripping with irony. Alex, still adjusting his robes, stepped to the command deck, Elara at his side. All right, let's turn this family reunion into a rout. Humor laced his resolve, but the stakes were sky-high. Failure meant not just defeat, but the erasure of humanity's hidden legacy. The battle erupted in the nebula's heart, ships darting through gas clouds like predators in fog. Alex coordinated from the bridge, his improvised tactics, using asteroid fields as slingshots, clashing with Zerathian precision. Awkwardness arose when a comm glitch broadcast a private quip. Elara, your glow's distracting the pilots. Tone it down, love. The fleet heard, chuckles rippling over channels, but it humanized the moment, boosting morale. Drama peaked as Vexor's flagship loomed, boarding pods launching. Zerathians repelled invaders in corridors, psychic blasts meeting laser fire, while Alex and Elara fought side by side, their enhanced link turning them into a seamless unit. In a tense standoff, Vexor cornered them in engineering, his form scarred but defiant. You think bloodlines matter? I'll end them both. He charged, but Alex, drawing on the bond, anticipated the move, disarming him with a tool-turned weapon. Elara sealed the deal with a psychic surge, unraveling Vexor's fractured mind. As he collapsed, whispering "Father," lied, the dreadnought self-destructed in the distance, the fleet victorious. Relief washed over them, mingled with the awkward humor of survival. Alex, robes torn, quipped, "Next ritual, victory pizza." Elara laughed, pulling him into an embrace, her curves warm against him. With the immediate threat shattered, the allies turned toward broader horizons, exposing the human origins to unite factions against Xandor. But as they plotted in the afterglow, a new transmission crackled, an ancient human signal, awakening from dormancy, hinting at more seeded artifacts. The drama promised continuation, awkward alliances, and humorous mishaps ahead, but with Elara, Alex embraced it all, their story a testament to humanity's enduring spark. The aftermath of the battle hung in the nebula like a fading echo, the wreckage of Xandorian ships drifting aimlessly amid the colorful gas clouds, their once menacing hulls now silent testaments to the fleet's hard-won triumph. Alex stood on the bridge of the Orales, his borrowed robes discarded for a fresh jumpsuit that felt comfortingly familiar against his skin, the med gel having worked its magic to knit his wounds into faint scars, reminders of the fire they'd walked through. Elara leaned against him, her curvaceous form a steady presence, her white hair tucked behind one pointed ear as she studied the holographic displays flickering with after-action reports. The ancient human signal they'd intercepted pulsed steadily on the screen, a beacon from a long-forgotten outpost, promising more secrets of humanity's stellar legacy. But for the first time in what felt like an eternity, the immediate threats had receded, allowing a fragile peace to settle over the Allied fleet. Zerathians moved with renewed purpose, repairing damages and sharing stories of the clash, their glowing skins mirroring the nebula's hues in a display of quiet resilience. Tiva approached them, her silver braids swaying with each step, a data slate in hand. The Empire's forces are in disarray. Vexor's defeat has fractured their command. We've bought time, but that signal, it's calling to you, Alex. Coordinates point to an uncharted sector, possibly another seeded artifact. Her eyes shifted between them, noting the way Elara's hand rested on Alex's arm, a subtle glow emanating from her touch. The drama of the moment lingered, but it was tempered now by hope, the awkward rituals and humorous mishaps of the past fading into fond memories that strengthened their resolve. Alex nodded, his mind already turning the puzzle over like a stubborn engine part. If it's human tech, we can't ignore it, but we're not rushing in blind, not anymore. Elara smiled softly, her violet eyes reflecting his determination, the bond from the soul-weaving ceremony humming between them like a shared heartbeat, amplifying their thoughts and emotions in harmonious waves. As the fleet regrouped, forming a protective formation around the Orales, Alex and Elara stole a moment in a quiet observation lounge overlooking the stars. The room was a bubble of tranquility, walls curving transparently to frame the infinite expanse, stars twinkling like scattered diamonds against the velvet black. She traced a finger along his jaw, her pale skin warm against his, the elegant lines of her garment flowing like liquid silver in the low light. You've changed me, Alex, from a fugitive hiding as a pet to this, a partner in reshaping the galaxy. Her voice carried a melodic lilt, laced with the affection that had blossomed amid chaos. He pulled her closer, feeling the gentle curves of her body mold to his, a perfect fit born from trials and tenderness. And you've shown me there's more to life than fixing ships and drifting alone. Humans might have seeded the stars, but it's connections like ours that make it all worthwhile. Their kiss was unhurried, a celebration of survival and love, her lips soft and inviting, tasting of the exotic spices she'd introduced him to during their quieter moments aboard the Stardust Runner. The psychic link deepened the sensation, sharing flashes of joy, her laughter in the black market shadows, his protective embrace during battles, weaving their stories into one unbreakable tapestry. but as they parted, the ship's comm chimed softly, Tiva's voice intruding with gentle urgency. "We've decoded part of the signal. It's a message from your ancestors, Alex, a call to guardians. They anticipated this, left tools for unity, not conquest." The revelation added a final layer to their journey, transforming what could have been a burden into a beacon of purpose. Humanity's legacy wasn't about domination. It was about bridging divides, fostering alliances, and Elara's people were the perfect partners in that vision. Gathering the council once more, Alex stood before the elders and human allies, Elara at his side like a co-ruler in exile no longer. He spoke with the confidence of a man who'd stared down empires, his words carrying the weight of hard-earned wisdom. "This signal isn't a weapon, it's a bridge. My forebears scattered these artifacts to connect worlds, not control them. With Zerathia's psychic harmony and humanity's ingenuity, we can activate them to foster peace, expose Xandor's lies, and build a coalition that spans the stars." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room, the drama of potential conflict giving way to the thrill of collaboration. An elder, the same one who'd pushed for their bonding ritual, nodded approvingly. "The science speaks truth. Let this be the dawn of a new alliance." Elara squeezed Alex's hand, her glow brightening with pride, turning the moment into a pivotal turning point, not just for them, but for countless worlds. Preparations unfolded swiftly, the fleet charting a course toward the signal's source, a distant nebula-veiled planet rumored in ancient lore. En route, Alex and Elara found solace in small rituals, sharing meals infused with earthly flavors and Zerathian essences, dancing under holographic stars in the lounge, her lithe movements complementing his grounded steps in a blend of grace and strength. Laughter came easily now, the awkwardness of their early encounters evolving into inside jokes, him teasing her about her pet disguise, her mimicking his human slang with exaggerated flair. "Fetch, Alex." She'd quipped during a training sim, earning a playful chase around the cargo bay, their bond a source of light amid the vast darkness. Arriving at the planet, a lush world of crystalline forests and bioluminescent seas heightened the sense of culmination. The artifact awaited in a hidden vault, guarded not by foes, but by automated sentinels that recognized Alex's genetic signature, parting like welcoming arms. Inside, the chamber hummed with preserved tech, holographic archives detailing humanity's exploratory era, tools for interstellar communication, and psychic enhancers designed to link minds across distances. Elara interfaced seamlessly, her abilities unlocking the full potential, while Alex's touch activated dormant protocols. Together, they broadcast a galaxy-wide message: revelations of the seeded origins, calls for unity against tyranny, invitations to a new council where humans and Zerathians would co-lead. Responses flooded in worlds long isolated pledging support, Xandorian dissidents defecting, even distant human colonies awakening to their heritage. The Empire, fractured without its weapon or figureheads like Vexor, sued for terms, their aggression crumbling under the weight of exposed truths. Drama resolved into harmony, the awkward alliances of before solidifying into genuine partnerships. Milo, Alex's old contact, calmed from Elysium with gruff congratulations. "You went from buying a bargain pet to saving the stars. Next beer's on me, Lord Thorne." Alex laughed, sharing the moment with Elara, who rolled her eyes playfully. "See, humans and their brews irresistible." In the quiet epilogue of their adventure, Alex and Elara stood on the planet's shore, watching twin suns set over the sea, waves lapping in rhythmic glows. She nestled against him, her head on his shoulder, curves soft and inviting in the warm air. "What now, my hero?" she asked, her voice a whisper carried on the breeze. He wrapped an arm around her waist, feeling the psychic hum that bound them eternally. "We build, explore, maybe start a family that bridges our worlds, half human ingenuity, half Zerathian grace." Her glow-brightened, violet eyes shining with joy as they kissed under the fading light, the galaxy unfolding before them like an open book. Years blurred into legend, their story whispered in taverns and courts alike. The mechanic who bought a smart pet and uncovered humanity's cosmic role, the princess who found love in disguise. Alliances flourished, artifacts activated to foster peace, and through it all, Alex and Elara remained at the heart, proof that in the vast tapestry of the stars, it was the unexpected bonds, the shared passions, and the unyielding spirit of humanity that truly conquered. No more running, no more hiding, only endless horizons together. And so, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber and violet, Alex and Elara walked hand in hand into their future, a galaxy united, where humanity's ingenuity and Zerathia's grace forged everlasting peace. Their love, born from a simple mistake, became the legend that inspired worlds. As the storyteller, I personally love how this tale celebrates human resilience and unexpected bonds. It's a reminder that even in the vast cosmos, love conquers all. What do you think? Could you see yourself in Alex's shoes? Thank you for watching. Your likes, subs, comments, and shares are our biggest motivation to create even better stories. Hit that button and let us know your thoughts.